Hey guys, on this episode of EdTech, Scott Tyner and Rob Raspberry and I will be talking about HETMA, Infocom Connected, and all our current upcoming projects. All this and more on EdTech.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is EdTech, episode 87. Yes, that's still a thing.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Kramer, AV Beyond the Box.
This is EdTech, the Higher Ed Monthly Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Bill O'Donnell, and this month I'm joined by Rob Raspberry. How are you, sir?
Good, doing great, Bill.
All right, thank you, sir. And as also Mr. Scott Tyner, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Bill. It's always great to be here.
Yay. So, first and foremost, this past month and everything, we've had shows such as Infocom Connected, as well as the HETMA conference and everything, which both were held online. If you're not familiar with Infocom, it is an annual trade show for the commercial end of things, which is where most of the higher ed folks usually tend to go to and everything. You know, they might pop up at CEDIA and everything, but that's more residential. But once again, there are some stuff that tends to cross over from one realm to the other. That being said, with the Infocom Connected show, I will just simply say I was able to watch some of the sessions. I think it was good in that you were able to have like these breakout sessions and everything. There were a number of, the usual exhibitors and everything. And I know it sounds weird to say that because, once again, this was a virtual show. The other thing I'll just simply keep it to was that I think it's great that they were able to record all the sessions, and so you'll have info and content to review later. Beyond that, it was for me, it felt like it was a lot of surfing of websites and everything. And some companies just kind of went, yeah, here's our stuff already. But it's the whole thing of you miss walking the trade show floor and everything. Both Rob and Scott, we've walked the floor, and it's ranged from everything from there was 1 year I remember the drone pavilion. There was also there's also been times where you're looking and going, yeah, hey, let's go. One of my personal favorites was a couple years ago. Ernie actually went and said, hey, you know what, let's go. You guys could go and check out, it was either, I'm trying to remember. It wasn't Audio Technica and it wasn't Clock Audio. There was a microphone manufacturer that they actually put the mics in tap shoes, because if I remember right, I think it was for the Rockettes or something like that. And it was just one of those, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. How the heck did you guys do this? And I'm sure Ernie's gonna watch this later or hear about this later, and I'm gonna get an email. It was this company. And I'll be like, yes. Unfortunately, my ADD is kicked into high gear. So, anyways, that being said, Scott, I'm first gonna pitch it over to you in the fact that we've had, recently we had the HETMA conference, which is the Higher Ed Technology Managers Association or Alliance, or I always forget what the A is.
Yeah, wow. I should know that right off the top of my head, and I don't. But I'm going to find it out just it's Alliance.
Alliance. There we go.
Yeah, it's an alliance because we didn't want to. Now that I say that, it's because we don't want to be thought of as a official association, and then we have to kind of start following rules about not talking about certain manufacturers and the like.
Once again, the wonderful world of acronyms, folks. But in any event, if you're not familiar with it, HETMA is where, once again, we're all higher ed tech managers and everything, and so we can all kind of cross chat. And there was a number of sessions. So Scott, I'm not going to take this away from you and everything. So go ahead.
Yeah, so it was a great 3 days of workshops. we really hoped to have people pop in and out, do the sessions that were interesting to them. They could leave a session, join another one. We did some after hours things. So we did a little award show that was fun. There was some funny stuff there. There was some serious stuff there. We did an AV karaoke one night, and we did a
oh, actually, it should be noted. This show actually got the podcast, the AV podcast award.
We absolutely did, yes. And then we did a roast one night. But we also did some general sessions about, there was some about designing your own classrooms and whether you should be installing your own classrooms. Tim was on a session about how he went from being a higher ed technology manager to being in the media. So a lot of different sessions. They were recorded. They're going to be posted up later. One of the things I thought of when we started talking about HETMA was one of the other awards we gave out was to James King, who started a Slack channel, Higher Ed AV. And so if you've ever used Slack, there's a number he started a Slack workspace, and there's a number of channels in the workspace. There's an equipment discussion, a programming one, a networking one, a training one, unified communications. It's all people who are in higher ed. And it's great, right? Because the nice thing about Slack is there's all kinds of conversations going on, but they're organized properly. So he kind of got the award for keeping us all together and keeping us in communication during this time. So if you're interested in that, check it out. Hit up James King on social media, and he can add you. And it's a really great resource. There's a bunch of people there. And one thing we were talking about before the show started, Bill and Rob, is that there's a lot of people out there who aren't really public on social media. That maybe we'd call them lurkers or whatever. This is a great place where you don't have to be, public and making kind of public things. You can get in there, you can learn, you can contribute, and it's a closed environment to higher ed technology managers.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I have noticed, at least on the higher ed side and everything. Yeah, there are folks who are very, sociable and outgoing, such as these two delightful individuals we have on here. But at the same time, there are folks who you'll chat with them and you'll kind of note it's like, okay, they're definitely up in their own world about stuff, or and the same is true, when you're dealing with faculty. There are some folks and believe me, you go to other campuses just to kind of listen to things. Like a couple months ago, there was a little symposium over at Rutgers, and they were talking about their active learning classrooms and everything. And they decided to have some of their faculty come around and do like little demos and everything of how they do stuff and everything. And I could tell at least one or two of the faculty members that I wanted to look and say, "Oh, you definitely you only teach the higher level stuff, don't you?" She went, "Yeah, how could you tell?" And I'm like, "Because you're using like size 10 or 8 font on your PowerPoint slides, and there's just like and I said, I get it. And I said, this is probably one of your sample things. You're probably teaching like, level 400, biochemistry and everything like that. I'm like, but, I'm going to pull the Homer Simpson maneuver of like, can you dumb it down a little bit? And, but it's one of those things like, folks get into that like kind of stovepiping in which it's like, okay, yeah, I'm working it this way. And it's, this is just, I'm focused on this. And in the same regards, there are some AV and tech managers who are like, yeah, no, I focus just on this. In fact, Rob, you can probably back me up on this. The same thing can happen with folks who do like, TV production and things like that. For them, it's like, okay, I focus just on the TV production and everything. Oh, the projector's out. Oh, I have to get a replacement. I know it has to be this color. It has to have this level of white balance, or it has to be able to put out this color temperature. But beyond that, it's not my thing. Now that doesn't happen that often, but Rob, you're already like nodding your head.
I totally agree because it's interesting. Like, and I don't. This is sort of going a little off topic, but like when you're assembling a team, you sometimes have individuals that have their special area. I've got one person that is a technological whiz and just anything he can deal with. But when it comes to communicating sometimes, with other people outside that realm, it becomes a little difficult. And I have people who are like the troubleshooters. They can troubleshoot something, immediately. And sometimes when they communicate that problem to others, it's like you're just looking at them going, oh my God, what are you trying to say to me?
Yeah.
But one of the things that's always great is that somehow we always manage to get this team to work together and to work towards the common goal, which is serving our students and serving the campus and serving the community. And it happens when you go to some of the conventions and some of the conferences. You find people who are very gregarious, outgoing, like you, Bill, and like Scott. And then there are others who, it's hard to pull a word out of them, but then they give you this spiel of brilliance that just you're like, oh my God, that's incredible. So I definitely feel that there's people behind the scenes and people who are in front of the scenes. And it just somehow we just make it work all together.
Yeah, that's one of the things I do miss about at least being on the floor for Infocom, is that that's when, like case in point, the folks who are in my backyard are FSR and everything. And with FSR, not only do they get like the sales folks out and everything, but they will also get like the engineers. And every now and then when I'm talking with the guys, I go, oh, I can see why you're an engineer. Oh yeah. But they're brilliant. But at the same time, I'm like, we're getting down into the weeds with this one. Oh no, he's talking about the mechanical engineering of the floor box. Okay. And it's not a bashing or anything like that. It's literally like the folks get very focused about it and everything. And I'll admit up front, the folks over at FSR, there's one or two particular engineers who I joke around that all they do is literally metal origami. That's how I figure they do it. But those are the same folks that you look at and you go, yeah, all right, I have this crazy problem. Figure it out, and you just let them be. Exactly. And those are the same folks that you'll end up chatting with at Infocom, and you'll just pull out like this one little nugget and go, oh, I never thought of it that way. Now, once again, that's one of the things that I really miss about trade show floor stuff or anything. Just because every now and then you'll just find like a little nugget, or on the reverse side, you'll go to one of the projector manufacturers or anything and say, hey, how come this model was discontinued? And they just kind of look at you and go, yeah, no, this is the new model, or no, there's not a replacement for that one. And you're just like, okay, which is reasons 1 through 5 why. Folks tend to change up manufacturers, like me. Actually, if anything, we're switching over to Epson recently and everything. We were primarily NEC, but Epson, for the life of me, the best way I'm going to describe it is they just simply said, yeah, here, you know what, we've got our Brighter Futures program, and, tell us what you want, and I think they still had the deal where it's like you buy 10, you get one free, and I'm just like, cool, that's the spare. And we just happen to have, in our case, we just happened to have gone and we're renovating a building. So I just went, yay, cool, makes my life so much easier. So so speaking of renovations and projects and everything, I know for most of us, we're probably in this now, a number of us are in a mad scramble for, okay, we want to be able to do remote in classrooms that we've never done remote for, ever. And in my case, we went and did a bulk order of 150 USB dock cams that will also double as, the in-room Zoom around and everything. Now, do I think that's going to be the end all? No. This is the donut on the car that just blew out. This is to get me to the gas station where we'll eventually, suss things out. But for right now, it's okay, folks, everything's opening in the fall. These classes are being held. My president, at the very least, is saying we're opening early and we're actually going to close and be finished with everything. That includes finals exams by Thanksgiving. So, Rob, I can see you're nodding and just being like, yeah, So, so you guys, what's been the big push, or at least what's the big plan for you guys so far?
Well, so, the plan seems to be that there will be some students on campus, there will be some campus activities, but the understanding is that there will be a large portion, or a lot of the classes are also going to be offered online in the hybrid situation simultaneously. So they're trying to vet out whether or not, students join in exclusively online, or maybe they'll come in on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, or Tuesday, Thursday. Half the class will come in one day, the other day they'll be remote. So they'll sort of switch, the two. They're still trying to vet that out. Obviously, the first concern is safety, health, social distancing, and trying to come up with solutions that will accommodate those situations. So, basically we've been looking at, a number of our classrooms need to be outfitted with cameras and basic microphones, and to be able to easily interface into, an instructor's laptop or whatever device they're bringing in, or if there's an instructor's machine. So it's actually sort of a pretty simple kind of setup for a lot of the classrooms until you start getting into the larger spaces. Yeah. Until you get to the auditoriums where you need, better cameras, better microphones. I mean, people are talking about some ceiling array setups, or in different, like in a medium-sized classroom. But the biggest thing is now, trying to get the integrators in to take a look at the spaces, give your quotes, and see what you have. And then you're dealing with the inventory issue. We have, one, last week we were talking to somebody and they said, oh yeah, we'll have no problem with inventory. And now another integrator just contacted us and saying, oh, we're backlogged into, the middle of the end of July. So the challenge becomes creating packages that you have to really, at this point, have your A manufacturer, your B manufacturer, your C manufacturer, because of inventory issues. But I mean, basically, we're just setting things up to have a camera towards the back of the classroom or wherever, aim it in the area where the instructor is, make sure they have good audio. They plug into either their laptop, instructor's machine, and then we come up with a panel where it has a writing surface, because annotation is sort of a big thing, but you don't want to necessarily go overboard. And there are some cool technologies, for annotation and getting things that, overlays and things off even chalkboards. But, that's, I know. It's, that's still a thing. I'm sorry. So
that might be the title of the podcast this time. Yes, that's still a thing.
Yeah. So we're sort of in the stages where we've put together formal proposals. Our CIO is very, I would say aggressive on doing this, but you have to vet it up to other levels, provost and beyond, and they have to give your blessing. And then once that happens, we're out, out the gate, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So that's the thing that most of us like. Thankfully, most of my classroom spaces are usually somewhere around 20 students or so. And that's the other thing too, that our provost and facilities folks, pretty much they looked around at all the classroom spaces and they said, pretty much we're going to cut them down by down to 3/4 of the class size or so. Because initially we were going, we'll have social distancing and this and that. And I said, we're just going to limit the actual class sizes and everything. And this was actually about a week or two ago. There was the AV and the AM discussions on Twitter. And I had to laugh because there was a gentleman who was like, oh, so what are you guys going to do? Is someone going to be, counting people at the door and everything? And I said, no. I said, there's not going to be anyone. There's not going to be staff or anyone going, no, you can't come in. I said, they'll literally just cut down class sizes to where folks can fill the space out and everything. And it turned into this little debate of, you're lowering enrollment. I'm like, no, I never said lowering enrollment. I simply said smaller class sizes, which really is going to later on turn into, hey, adjunct members. Yeah, you remember how you had a nice schedule before? Yeah, that's out the window. And there's going to be, I have a sneaky suspicion, at least on our campus, we're going to have a bunch of twilight classes that everyone's just going to go and mutter unfathomable language. I'll just keep it to that. So, like I said, if anything, we're just looking at it all. The other bigger thing that we're looking at is as we put all these cameras in and everything. For us, we're looking, going, okay, how do we make because we're thinking about this, and the faculty, I don't know about you, but for us, our faculty, there are the folks who can adapt really well, and then there's the well-seasoned ones. Well-seasoned faculty members, if they get, they're going to, I can tell they're going to get told this. They're not going to get asked, they're going to be told. So we're in the process of making both a how-to video, as well as we're also going to be making a quick start guide for, okay, how do you set up Zoom? And, how do you, can you do an impromptu? And, later on, we're going to be working with our Blackboard folks, because, they're going to want to find a way to port it to Blackboard, or, they may say, well, can I do this with Blackboard Collaborate? Which, Rob, I don't know if you've dealt with this, but it still drives me nuts that that Blackboard Collaborate is still doing a 4x3 aspect in it. Yeah, I know. You're just looking at it like, why? Like, it's 2020, folks. So anyway, like I said, rants and raves. Anyways, that being said, Scott, do you have, as I say, I know for you guys, you're going to be you're going to be working on some of the upcoming projects for the school, as well as, are you guys, what's your guys' plans for the remote distance learning and everything? I know that's an old term.
we haven't made any firm plans yet. There's been an announcement, let's say, about what Bates College is going to do. But we are preparing. One thing we have decided to do is we're going to take our normal 4 classes during a semester, and we're going to go 2 classes for 7 weeks, another 2 classes for the following 7 weeks, so that we are using less classrooms during those periods, and they're going to be more intense, right? So instead of having a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're going to have a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so we can finish them in 7 weeks. We are going to send students home at Thanksgiving, and they're not going to return until middle of January. And so we're thinking about a lot of the things that Rob and you talked about, which is audio in a classroom, recording or live streaming out of a classroom in case there's quarantine issues going on. I think our goal right now, I think everybody's goal, right, is to have all the students on campus doing in-person learning. Interesting, one of the colleges around us, Bowdoin College, one of our sister schools, announced that they're bringing back first years, and they're bringing back a limited number of seniors, and that the rest of the students will stay home for the fall semester and do remote learning. To me, the whole thing here is audio. I think that, as we know, when you've got a mask covering your face and you can't read lips, it surprises me that, being in AV, you should know this, right? How much we rely on lip reading, and all of us, along with just hearing things. So I think it's audio.
Yeah, that's the thing that so at least our faculty, their major concern has been, well, do we require students to wear face masks? Do we, obviously we're going to be wearing them, but how are we going to project and this and that? And this is where, like, I've looked at some of the rooms, and literally I've gone around in previous times. So they said, oh, it's really noisy in here. And so I have a sneaky suspicion I'm going to be making use of recording the actual floor noise in the room and going, okay, now we have to adjust things. And the other end of it has also been the fact that our faculty finally figured out that we had a 3D print lab. So they're going, oh, we need to have face shields and this and that. And I'm going, guys, like, okay, like, are you guys doing biology or lab work and everything? No. Okay, then why do you need a face shield? Well, because I want to protect myself. I'm like, yes, the face shield is good for things that are getting splattered. Like, I can understand that if the music department was asking for that, but I'm like, you guys, like, what's going on here? So it's a mix of things. That's all I'm going to say about it. But you're right, the audio end of it. I have a sneaking suspicion the folks over at Atlas, Shure, Sennheiser, and Clock Audio are all probably going to be staying very busy with trouble phone calls. That and well, the folks over at Biamp always earn their keep to begin with. So, anyways, guys, that's I think is about all the time we have. So, in the future, there, Rob, where can the fine folks find you at?
So LinkedIn is the place where I'm at.
There you go. And Mr. Tyner?
I'm on Twitter on occasion at @STyner, and you can also find me on LinkedIn.
Indeed. All right. I'm Bill O'Donnell. You can find me on Twitter on the original OD, and you can also find me on LinkedIn. And once again, this has been EdTech, the monthly higher ed tech podcast, part of AVNation. Once again, this is EdTech.